Sometimes the apology leaves your mouth before you even know what happened. It's 12:17 at night in the office, after the inbox has finally gone quiet. You flip your notebook back to an old page, sit still for one more beat, and the air conditioner keeps running like it never gets tired. The motion lights fade row by row, the city reflects on the dark glass, and nothing dramatic has happened. So why does sorry still feel like the safest thing to say? What you may be noticing is the habit of apologizing for things that aren't actually your fault. This is a look at why that habit forms, why it can feel so automatic, and how to notice it before it quietly takes over the room. Apologizing for something that isn't yours is when your mind treats peace as your responsibility, even when the mistake, delay, mood, or discomfort belongs somewhere else. It might look small. A coworker misses a deadline, and you say, "Sorry, I didn't follow up sooner." Someone interrupts you, and you say, "Sorry, go ahead." The meeting runs long because 3 other people kept talking, and you apologize for taking up space when you ask one short question. The strange part is that you may not even feel dishonest when you say it. In the moment, it can feel polite. It can feel mature. It can feel like the quickest way to keep things smooth. But later, when the room is empty and the office lights are fading, something inside you may start to feel off. Because part of you knows you didn't cause the problem. You only absorbed it. One common reason is growing used to being the person who keeps the room comfortable. If you learn that tension ends faster when you soften yourself, then sorry can become a kind of emotional shortcut. It says, "I won't make this harder," even when you didn't make it hard in the first place. So in the office, when a manager sounds annoyed because a client changed direction, you may apologize for the confusion, even though the confusion did not begin with you. That kind of apology is not always about regret. Often, it is about temperature. You are trying to lower the temperature in the room before anyone looks directly at you. You may not be thinking, "This is my fault." You may only be thinking, "Let's make this feel safe again." And if you have played that role for a long time, it can happen so fast that your mouth moves before your judgment catches up. Sometimes, it comes from being praised for being easy to deal with. Maybe people liked that you didn't argue. Maybe they called you thoughtful when you took the blame, flexible when you swallowed frustration, professional when you stayed calm after someone else dropped the ball. Over time, being easy can become a quiet job description. So when the printer jams right before a presentation, or a teammate forgets to send the file, you still feel your hand reach for the apology as if your value depends on making everyone feel unbothered. This can create a strange emotional trade. You get less conflict, but you also get less truth. You become known as pleasant, but not always known. People may trust your calm tone, yet miss the effort it takes to keep it there. And after a while, the apology stops being a word and starts becoming a place you disappear into. There's also a quieter reason. You may be trying to prevent a reaction you've seen before. Not every apology is about the current moment. Sometimes it is about a past moment that taught you how quickly someone's mood could turn. If people around you were easily disappointed, easily cold, or quick to make you feel like you had caused trouble, you may have learned to apologize before the air changed. So even now, when a coworker sighs at their screen, you might say, "Sorry, was that the version I sent?" before you even know what went wrong. That kind of apology is not weakness. It is an old way of checking the room. Your mind may be scanning for signs, tone, silence, facial expression, delayed replies, a clipped okay. And when it finds something unclear, it reaches for the one word that used to reduce the risk. Sorry. Even if you didn't do anything. Even if no one accused you. Even if the problem is simply that everyone is tired. It's easy to miss how much this costs, because the cost arrives quietly. It does not always look like a breakdown. It can look like staying late to make someone else's mistake less visible. It can look like rewriting a message so it sounds warmer than you feel. It can look like smiling when someone says, "No worries," even though you were the one who deserved that line. The deeper cost is that your own reality starts to blur. If you keep apologizing for things that are not yours, you may slowly lose track of what actually belongs to you. A late reply feels like your fault. Someone's bad mood feels like your assignment. A rushed meeting feels like proof that you took up too much space. The apology becomes a tiny receipt for responsibility you never agreed to buy. And because the habit often looks polite from the outside, people may not realize how heavy it feels from the inside. They may think you are simply kind. And maybe you are. But kindness that always folds inward can become exhausting. It can leave you sitting in a half-dark office at 12:17, listening to the air conditioner, wondering why a normal day feels like something you survived. Imagine someone who works in a small marketing team, the kind of person everyone describes as reliable. It is late, the office is almost empty, and the last email thread has stopped moving. Earlier, A campaign delay happened because the client changed the brief twice, the designer got new files too late, and the final approval came after hours. Still, when the manager sounded tense, this person typed, "Sorry for the delay. I'll get it cleaned up." Then they opened an old page in their notebook, where last month's tasks were crossed out in careful lines, and felt a dull tightness behind the ribs. Not panic. Not drama. Just that familiar sense of being responsible for weather they did not create. If you've been there, you're not strange. You might know someone who lives like this. This is what over-apologizing can look like when it hides inside being helpful. One small shift can begin before the apology becomes automatic. When sorry rises in your throat, there can be a quiet pause where you ask, "Am I expressing care, or am I taking blame?" The answer does not require a big speech. It may only be the difference between "sorry for the delay" and "thanks for your patience while this came together." One sentence takes ownership of something you caused, the other stays respectful without carrying what was never yours. This matters because the goal is not to become cold. It is not about refusing care. It is about letting care stay clean. You can be thoughtful without becoming the container for every uncomfortable feeling in the room. You can acknowledge a problem without volunteering your name as the source of it. Sometimes the kinder sentence is the one that leaves reality intact. Another gentle shift is to give the moment a more accurate label. Instead of letting every uncomfortable pause become an apology, you might quietly name what is actually happening. The client changed the timeline. The meeting ran over. The file came in late. They seem stressed, but I don't know why yet. These small facts can bring you back to the ground. They remind you that discomfort is not the same as guilt. This can feel unfamiliar at first, especially for someone who has been rewarded for smoothing everything over. The body may still want to rush. The mouth may still want to soften every sentence. But accuracy can be gentle too. It does not arrive loudly. It can simply sit beside you and say, "Wait, this part is not yours. And there is something else here that is easy to overlook." Many people who apologize too much are not trying to manipulate anyone. They are often trying to stay connected. The apology is a bridge, even when it is built in the wrong direction. It says, "Please don't leave me outside the group. Please don't be upset with me. Please let this moment pass without turning into something bigger." That is why harsh advice rarely helps. The habit is not just a sentence pattern. It is tied to belonging. It is tied to safety. It is tied to the old feeling that being low maintenance makes you easier to keep around. When that is the hidden pressure, simply removing the word sorry can feel like removing protection. So the softer path is noticing where the apology comes from. Is it care? Is it fear? Is it habit? Is it a way to shrink before someone else can be disappointed? Those questions do not accuse you. They give you a little space around the reflex. And sometimes, space is enough for a different sentence to appear. Maybe the sentence is, "Thanks for catching that." Maybe it is, "I see what happened." Maybe it is, "That part changed after the brief came in." Maybe it is just silence for one extra second, long enough to let the room hold its own weight. This is for the person who looks easy to work with, but spends quiet energy keeping everyone comfortable. If you often apologize for things that are not your fault, it may not mean you are too sensitive or too soft. It may mean you learn to protect connection by taking blame early. But not every tense moment belongs to you. Some moments can stay where they began. And you can still be kind without handing yourself the bill.